As a starting point, the core idea of many of the abilities are that they are based on grounded, realistic theme. We avoid using supernatural effects as much as possible. That's why we like things like telekinesis and mind control and things like that. I would like to imagine that the first ability you get is actually the service weapon in the game. It's Optical Power, and it's something that is an expression of a kind of a basic weapon, a prototype of a weapon, if you will. And it can grow into different type of forms, and you can upgrade it later on in the game. The second one we call Launch. Launch is basically a telekinetic ability which allows you to take control of the environment. You can pick up things, rip things out from the wall, and then launch them towards your enemies. And it's a very kind of basic fundamental part of your gameplay where you use launch a lot. And it's a lot of fun as well because you get to see the environment being ripped apart, and it's so very satisfying to take a fire extinguisher or something like that and throw it at the enemy and it blows up and so on. Now, sometimes you can destroy the environment for your benefit as well, creating new openings on the wall, for instance, and things like that. Then we have something we call the shield. Again, it has this telekinetic flavor to it. So basically what you do is that you collect elements from the environment and you build a shield. And it protects you from attacks. Very simple and intuitive to understand. And you can upgrade the shield to be able to launch those things forward. So it kind of does a bit what launch does as well, creating very kind of direct kinetic damage against the enemies. And then we have what we call evade. So now we start to do things where Jesse is using telekinetic powers to affect herself. She can make basically herself move really fast for a short span of time. You're able to now evade attacks, or sometimes navigate through a fight in real quick succession and then follow up with the melee attack, for instance. And the melee attack itself is as well an ability. It has this telekinetic amplification to it. As you do a telekinetic attack, it actually affects the environment. You can break down walls, or if you punch enemies, they will fly like several meters away from you. Then in the kind of spectrum of abilities of Jesse, where she affects herself is levitation. You can choose the height that you're going to fly in. You can shoot. You can use all the other abilities from air as well. So we start to see these combinations of things now that you can do. You can create a shield up in the air and launch it downwards, and all of those things, I think, is a clear, different way to traverse the world. And with this Metroidvania approach that we have, you can access locations, of course, that you couldn't without the levitation. The last ability, I think, is actually a deviation from telekinetic abilities. It's a telepathic ability. So basically, you can take over the minds of your enemies and actually turn them to be on your side. It's a limited time thing, but you basically can have two enemies fighting alongside you against other enemies. There are interesting gameplay consequences that you will have once you turn some of the enemies to your side. For instance, there's an enemy entity who is able to heal all the other enemies, but once you turn it to your side, it will actually follow you and heal you through the experience. With every ability, we always wanted to kind of think of a follow-up attack that you can do. With the shield, you can do the blast afterwards. While you fly, you can do melee from above. So you do the slam and the air effect damage. We designed almost all of the abilities in such a way that you can actually use other abilities as well at the same time. I think the one that is strongest is levitation. So you can basically use almost every single other ability while you fly. And it changes sometimes the situation entirely because we have this very sandboxy field to combat. And once you learn how to use it, you can come up with numerous different tactics that you can apply that you didn't realize before.